The Knowledge Browser is a web-based tool to browse information related to long-term data preservation. You can start browsing at a certain point on which you require more information, for example, the technical specification of a file format. From there on, you can visit connected information, which will give you more details about how to read that specification, which programs use that file format, and even deeper with manuals on those programs, and so on. This network of connected descriptions is called the Representational Information Network. The network is made up of two types of points. First, there are pieces of representational information labels, or repinfo labels. These are meant as metadata. They contain a description of the information they represent and link to the data that is necessary to understand what the repinfo label represents. That data is stored in one or more so-called manifests. These manifests store the actual information, like manuals, downloads, videos, source codes, etc. The kind of information they provide is split in three categories. Structural information explains low-level data specifications, file types, and so on. Semantic information explains which programming language is used. It contains user manuals or models that are used. Data that doesn't fit in either of these categories is stored under Other, and details hardware requirements, software documentation, etc. In the light of long-term data preservation, it may be possible that the format in which this data is stored is not understood by the user, or no longer commonly supported. Therefore, to be able to understand the data in a manifest, that manifest contains a reference to the repinfo label that describes the format of the data. The network is therefore made up of repinfo labels linked to manifests, which are linked to repinfo labels again. There are two ways to start knowledge browsing. In the first, an external program, website, or information catalog will give you a direct link to a specific point in the network. It will do this by referring to the representational identifier of the referenced piece of information, so you will immediately start off at the point you are interested in. If you do not have such a link, but you want to search for the information, a search toolbox is provided. Searching for a repinfo label is done based on keywords that are associated with the label. For example, when looking for information about the MERIS dataset, type MERIS and click search. The results appear in the result list. To look for a manifest, switch the type of product in the search box to manifest. Instead of keywords, manifests have to be searched for by the categories in which they belong. These categories include, for example, computer hardware, file specifications, or source code. For normal use of the knowledge browser, searching for a repinfo label will be the more common thing to do. When you click on one of the results, the knowledge browser will then fetch the network that surrounds that piece of information, in this case the repinfo label. This network is then visualized in the browsing window on the left. The chosen repinfo label sits in the center of this network, and around it you can see the linked manifests. The links are color-coded, red for semantic manifests, green for structural manifests, and blue for other. Manifests whose data format is described by the central repinfo label are linked in gray. If we click on one of those manifests, that manifest will become the center of the network, and around it you will see the repinfo labels that link to the manifest, in red, green, or blue, as well as the repinfo label that explains the manifest data, in gray again. The data of the manifest can be downloaded using the